What is the difference between constitutional amendment and judicial interpretation? Imagine a nation where the rules are constantly evolving to reflect the needs and values of its people. Sometimes, these changes come from a formal process that involves the entire legislative body, while other times, they emerge through the way courts interpret existing laws. Understanding how these two methods differ is essential to grasping how a country's legal system adapts over time. A constitutional amendment is a formal process that changes or adds to the fundamental law of the land. In many countries, this process requires multiple steps, including proposal by a certain number of legislative members, approval by a supermajority of the legislative body, and sometimes ratification by the voters or the states. For example, in the United States, an amendment can be proposed either by two-thirds of both houses of Congress or by a constitutional convention called by two-thirds of the state legislatures. Once proposed, it must be ratified by three-fourths of the state legislatures or by conventions in three-fourths of the states. This process ensures that any fundamental change to the Constitution is thoroughly considered and broadly supported. On the other hand, judicial interpretation involves courts clarifying or explaining the meaning of existing laws or constitutional provisions. When a legal dispute arises, courts analyze the language, context, and purpose of laws to determine how they should be applied in specific situations. Judicial interpretation does not alter the law itself but provides guidance on how it should be understood and enforced. For instance, courts may interpret vague constitutional language to determine whether a law violates constitutional rights or to establish the scope of governmental powers. Judicial interpretation can evolve over time as courts revisit previous rulings and adapt to new societal contexts, often shaping the application of laws without changing their text. The key distinction lies in the process and impact. A constitutional amendment is a formal, deliberate change to the fundamental law, requiring broad consensus and often involving multiple steps. Judicial interpretation, however, is an ongoing process where courts interpret and apply existing laws, shaping their meaning through case-by-case decisions. While amendments modify the constitutional framework directly, judicial interpretation influences how that framework is understood and implemented in everyday legal matters. Both are vital mechanisms for ensuring that a legal system remains relevant and responsive to the needs of its society.